She taught me the recipe, I added my twist. And the moment she took the first bite, I knew she finally tasted what I lived through. My name is Myra. And I was poisoned by love. Not the romantic kind. The kind that comes with a smile, a warm hug, and food that tastes just a little too sweet. I still remember the first day I met my mother-in-law, Evelyn. She wore a pearl necklace, her lipstick never smudged, and her smile was sharp, almost surgical. That day she hugged me so tightly I couldn't breathe, and somehow I knew it wasn't out of affection. It was possession. "You're too skinny," she had said, inspecting me like a fruit at the market. "Don't worry, I'll fatten you up with my famous puddings." I laughed, I thought she was joking. I was wrong. I married Aaron when I was just 23. He was charming, responsible, and the kind of man who still opened doors for me. We met at university, and he fell for me when I offered him my umbrella in the rain. Simple things like that meant everything to him, or so I thought. We got married in spring. The kind of wedding where everything looks perfect on Instagram, but no one really knows what's underneath the lace and flowers. I moved into his family's ancestral home, thinking it would just be for a little while. I had dreams of building a life, getting our own place, having a baby. But dreams shrink when you live in someone else's shadow. Evelyn had rules. Rules for cooking, rules for cleaning, rules for smiling in front of guests. She never said them out loud, but they hung in the air like perfume, strong and impossible to ignore. Aaron changed too. Not overnight. It was like watching someone slowly turn down the brightness on a photo. He became quiet around me and louder around her. Every night, Evelyn made me taste her desserts. "You'll never win your husband's heart if you can't bake," she'd whisper. So I learned. She taught me her secret recipes, her rose-flavored syrup, her cinnamon fudge, her almond cream. She praised me in front of guests, but corrected me in the kitchen like I was a clumsy child. And still I tried. Because I wanted to belong. Because I thought if I loved hard enough, they'd love me back. But love, in that house, was a recipe with too much salt and no sugar. One morning, I woke up dizzy. My mouth was dry, my skin pale, and my stomach clenched like it was fighting itself. I thought maybe I had eaten too much the night before. Evelyn's pudding again. She insisted I eat double servings, always. By the third day, I fainted in the garden. Aaron wasn't home, Evelyn found me. She screamed so loud, you'd think she actually cared. She took me to a private clinic. The doctor did blood tests. When he walked in with the results, he looked nervous. "There's something abnormal in her system," he said, avoiding my eyes. "A slow-acting toxin, probably from food." Evelyn gasped. "Oh God," she cried, clutching her pearls. "Could it be something Myra cooked herself?" That was the first time I saw the truth behind her smile. "I'll stop here for now." I sat there in that sterile white hospital room, hooked up to an IV. My hands trembling, not from the toxin, but from the realization. She was poisoning me. Evelyn visited every day with a fresh tray of food. Homemade pudding, banana cream pie, almond tartlets. All for my recovery. The nurses were impressed by her love. I wanted to scream. "Aaron's." He didn't come. He sent texts. "Work been crazy. Mom says you're doing better." That was it. It hit me one night, harder than the nausea ever could. I was alone. Married, poisoned, abandoned. I told the nurse to throw the food away as soon as Evelyn left. She looked at me, confused. But I saw something in her eyes. She didn't argue. She just nodded. I stayed in that hospital for 2 weeks. Doctors never confirmed what the substance was. It was too slow, too diluted. But my body, it remembered. When I came home, Evelyn hugged me like I was returning from war. "Sweetheart," she said, stroking my hair, "you've lost so much weight. Let Mama fatten you up again." And that was the moment. That second, right there. I decided I wasn't going to run. I wasn't going to cry. I was going to cook. I began with her recipes. The same ones she made me taste. Every night I practiced. Measuring, mixing, balancing. I mastered her touch, and then I made it better. I started baking for Aaron again. He smiled. Said he missed my touch. But I didn't bake for him. I baked for her. Her birthday was coming up. Big event. Guests, music, gold cutlery, and floral arches. She handed me the guest list and said, "Myra, darling, you'll be doing the dessert table, just like I would've." I smiled. That's exactly what I had in mind. In the weeks before the party, I became her perfect daughter-in-law again. Wore the dresses she liked. Laughed at her boring tea parties. Baked for her bridge club. Even let her show me off at her book club. She started trusting me again. Lowered her guard. Smiled more. That same sharp smile. She never suspected the girl she tried to erase was now designing the finale of her grand birthday show. The night before the party, I stood alone in the kitchen. The house was quiet. Aaron was out of town for a conference. Perfect. I took out Evelyn's old recipe book. The one with faded pages and oil stains. Flipped to the rose pudding recipe. And smiled. She taught me this. She said, "A real woman wins with sweetness." And I was about to serve her the sweetest dish of her life. I replaced one ingredient. Just one. Nothing lethal. Just something that would show up later. Something that would send her straight to the ER with hives, a swollen tongue, and gasping breaths. You see, Evelyn was severely allergic to hazelnuts. She made sure the whole family knew. She even told me once, "Never bring Nutella into this house. It's my death sentence." Well, happy birthday. The morning of Evelyn's birthday, the house buzzed like a beehive. Caterers setting tables. Waiters polishing glass. Music rehearsals, floral trucks, and gossiping old women with pearls. She stood at the center of it all, Queen Evelyn, ruling her little kingdom of perfection. She wore lavender silk, her favorite. Lipstick flawless. Earrings that sparkled like tiny knives. And me. I wore white. Not bridal white. Warrior white. I set the dessert table last. 6 types of pudding. Almond fudge squares. Glazed rose custard. And at the very center, her favorite. The hazelnut rose delight. Delicate, beautiful. Deadly for her. As the guest arrived, Evelyn was all smiles. Hugging, posing for photos, air kissing. She didn't notice my hands trembling. But not from fear. From rage. From justice, finally served cold and sweet. At dinner, people raised toasts. Aaron wasn't there, but Evelyn didn't care. This was her stage. And when dessert was rolled in, she clapped like a child. "Oh, Myra, darling, this looks divine." I nodded. "Your recipe, I just added a little twist." She didn't catch the double meaning. She picked up her silver spoon and took the first bite. Closed her eyes, savoring it like fine wine. I watched her jaw freeze. Her throat tighten. Her hands tremble. A red flush spread across her neck. Then blotches on her face. She coughed. Gasped. Knocked over her glass of wine. Guests stood in panic. One woman screamed, "She's choking." I just stepped back. Someone called an ambulance. The room turned to chaos. But I calmly walked to the kitchen, washed my hands, removed my apron. I looked at her photo on the fridge, an old one of her baking with Aaron as a child. And I whispered, "Now you know how it feels to swallow something you trust and have it destroy you." Evelyn survived. Barely. The hospital saved her, just in time. Doctors confirmed it, severe hazelnut reaction. And when they asked her where she might have eaten something contaminated, she couldn't speak. Her tongue was swollen for 2 days. When she could finally talk, she lied. Said it must have been a mistake. Cross-contamination. A guest's cookie, maybe. Because admitting I had done it me, the daughter-in-law she trained and tortured, would mean admitting she lost. And Evelyn, she never loses. But that was the beauty of it. I didn't need her confession. I had her silence. And silence, when worn like a crown, is louder than any scream. The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. Evelyn returned home with a new prescription and a lot less pride. She couldn't look me in the eyes. But I could feel her watching me. The kitchen, once her kingdom, became mine. She no longer gave me recipes. She no longer hovered over my shoulder. She just faded into the background. Like an old painting no one wanted to throw away, but no longer admired. Aaron came home a week later. He kissed me, told me I looked stronger. And for the first time in months, I didn't fake my smile. He asked about his mother's allergic reaction. I shrugged. Must have been a guest's mistake. Cross-contamination, maybe. He didn't ask again. But something had shifted. Not just in the house. In me. I started baking more. Not for them. For me. Every swirl of cream. Every layer of sponge. It was therapy. I started a blog. Posted recipes. Wrote stories of healing through cooking. Within a month, strangers were commenting. "You saved me. This dish reminds me of my mom." It felt good to be seen. Not just as Aaron's wife. Not as Evelyn's doll. As Myra. Evelyn, meanwhile, stayed away from the desserts. She watched me carefully every time I baked, like a lion unsure if the mouse had grown fangs. I started using hazelnuts openly. In jars. On the counter. In cookies I gifted to neighbors. Never again in her food. Once was enough. But every time she saw those jars, her hand twitched. A reminder. That I could have ended her. And didn't. That mercy came baked into my revenge. One afternoon, I found her in the kitchen, staring at my rose-glazed tarts. She turned slowly and said, "I taught you well." I smiled. "You did." Then I leaned in, soft and sharp. "But you forgot one ingredient." She raised an eyebrow. "Self-respect," I whispered, "and now I have it, thanks to you." From that day forward, Evelyn stopped entering the kitchen altogether. She'd walk past it like it was haunted. Because it was. Not with ghosts, but with power she no longer controlled. Aaron started complimenting my desserts again. But I didn't bake for him either. That part of me, the girl who used food to earn love, she was gone. I was building something else now. Something mine. My blog turned into a website. Then a YouTube channel. Baked by Myra. My first video was titled, "Healing Starts with Heat, the Oven Saved Me." I didn't name names. I didn't need to. But women knew. They felt it in my words. Thousands of comments poured in. Stories of toxic homes, sharp mothers-in-law, silent pain. I wasn't alone anymore. One evening, as I packed an order of customized tarts, Evelyn appeared in the doorway. She looked older, softer, but still careful. "I saw your video," she said. Her voice was low, like a candle about to die. I paused. Waited. She walked in, slowly, and sat on the stool where I used to beg her to teach me. "You were talking about me," she said. I didn't lie. "Yes." She looked down, then back up. Tears shimmered in her eyes, something I never imagined I'd see. "I was cruel to you." It hung in the air like smoke. "And yet," she added, "you could have killed me." I wiped my hands with a towel. "I didn't want your death," I said, "just your understanding." There was silence between us. But it wasn't hostile. It was healing. I was scared, she admitted. Scared of being replaced, of losing control, of becoming invisible. And suddenly I saw her, not the villain but the fragile woman beneath. But that didn't erase the past. It only explained it. I didn't forgive her that night. That would take more time. But I understood her. And that was enough to move forward. Evelyn never returned to her old self. She softened with age. Became quiet. Respectful. Even helpful at times. But she never ate my desserts again. And honestly, that was the sweetest part of all. Years passed. The house changed. So did I. My baking business bloomed into something bigger than I ever dreamed. I opened a small cafe downtown. Light pink walls. White marble counters. The smell of cinnamon and cardamom in the air. I named it Myra's Table. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't just being invited to sit at the table. I built my own. People came not just for the food, but for the warmth, the healing, the stories printed on every menu. Behind every dessert, there's a woman who refused to be bitter. Aaron and I drifted. Not dramatically. Just slowly. He loved me in his own way. But he never protected me. Never asked what really happened at the hospital. Never stood between me and his mother's knives. Eventually, we parted ways. No yelling. No war. Just the quiet click of a door I closed on my own terms. Evelyn now lives in a retirement home by the sea. Sometimes she sends me postcards. Quotes recipes. Tells me the nurses say she used to be a great cook. I never write back. Because some stories are best finished in silence. But I kept her recipe book. The one she gave me on my wedding night. It sits on the top shelf in my cafe, sealed in a glass box. Open to one page. The rose pudding. My staff often ask about it. Is it special? I smile. It taught me everything I needed to know. So if you ask me today, was the revenge worth it? I won't say yes. And I won't say no. But I will say this. Sometimes the best revenge isn't bitterness. It's building something so sweet that the people who hurt you choke on your happiness.